And now, it is my privilege to introduce the person who has organized today's webinar for us. He is the founder and CEO of IT by Design. He is also the founder and president of the Sikh American Chamber of Commerce. And I'd like to say he is truly the model of what being a good human looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The man I am honored to not only call a mentor, but also my friend, Mr. Shiv Khera. Sonny?
Thanks, Todd. Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you joined us today. I'm so pleased to have my dear friend, Shiv, as our keynote today. We normally do these weekly webinars for our partners, our business partners. Since we have a special guest and a special topic today, we decided to open it up for our colleagues, for our friends and peers. And goal is to add value to people that we love and care about. He is a true inspiration. He has inspired our leadership team with his high impact leadership development program. And I'm so happy to be able to share his wisdom with all of you. I know that you will be inspired and will definitely take back information that you can apply today. I hope you enjoy.
Mr. Shiv Khera is an author, educator, business consultant, and much sought after speaker. He inspires and encourages individuals to realize their true potential. He has taken his dynamic personal messages to opposite sides of the globe, from the US to Singapore. Over 8 million copies of his books have been sold globally, including his international bestseller, You Can Win. His clients include HP, IBM, Lufthansa Airlines, and Mercedes-Benz. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shiv Khera.
Well, thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. And thanks, Sonny, to having me for this webinar right here. First of all, at the outset, I must make some disclaimers. One, I don't know of anybody in this world who has all the answers. Certainly I don't, to begin with. That's one. And two is, my academics, I'm a BCom 3rd division. I failed my 10th. That's my academics. And my background is, I come from a business family. We had coal mines in India and close to 1,000 people working, and the mines got nationalized. The government took over. And right from being a mine owner, we came on the street. Street means street. My father had died when I was just about finished college, and we were left with the liabilities and the assets were gone. And I was married just 4 weeks then. And I remember a year later, my daughter was born, and I did not have $10 to buy milk that night. So I've gone through those days, and then I tried my hands on 3 businesses with no money, and I failed in all 3. Finally, I decided to leave India almost 45 years ago, went to the US, initially went to Toronto, and since not being an educated person, I started life with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door for 1.5 years. Then gradually got into selling vacuum cleaners in the evening and washing cars in the daytime, and totally by default got into selling life insurance. And literally I was on the verge of being fired. There were some turning points which I will share with you what were the turning points in my life. But I moved on to the US, got into 3 businesses. I bought out a company out of California. I started the New Jersey operation with no clients, and I sold my company with close to 500 clients. Now, why do I share this with you? There are many lessons learned during this journey that have gone through, and I've gone through 3 kind of setbacks in my life, and how did I come back? And that is really what I'm sharing my journey with. Okay, with that. Now, all of a sudden, all of us, we are facing a lot of challenges today, and we're looking to how do we overcome them and prepare ourselves to win and succeed in life. Now, what are the challenges that we are facing? One is the coronavirus is moving from one city to the other and the other and the other. This is how it's moving. It's covered the whole world. That's one. Overcrowded hospitals, shortage of supplies, shortage of medical equipment. Besides, orders for businesses are canceled. Factories are closing. Unemployment has gone up massive. Death rate has gone up all over the world. Now, all this put together has literally shaken up the world. And that is the scenario that we are facing today. Now, with that scenario, all of us are facing a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability. Nobody knows what's coming tomorrow because there is no finish line. Nobody knows. Do we have the finish line 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or 2 years from now? Nobody knows that. Therefore, a lot of uncertainty, unpredictability has come in, which is making people very insecure and leading to personal hardship. Now, with that in mind, people are going through a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety, frustration, depression, and anger. And all put together. Now, with the result, see, all this is stress. Now, anybody who says, I have no stress, belongs into the lunatic asylum. There's nobody in this world who does not have stress. We all have it. And now the big question is, we cannot deny stress and avoid stress. And if we do, it comes back stronger and longer. Now, important thing is, all stress is not bad, because many times it pushes us to think out of the box and look for solutions which we probably might not have ever gone to see and look for. Now, there are some people who are totally problem focused. Henry Ford said, we're looking for people who are solution focused. There are some people in this world who have a problem for every solution. You give them a solution, they have a problem. They'll give you a problem. You give them a solution, they'll give you a problem. Henry Ford said, kick them out. We're not stupid. We understand there are problems in life, but we are looking for somebody who is solution focused regardless of the stress. Now, let me share with you, many times in life, stress makes us perform. Now, I'm sure some of us might have gone to the race course or seen movies, and you see the thoroughbreds. Before they get into the cabin, they're all edgy and jumping up and down like this. They're jumping. Why? They're under high stress. An athlete, when he goes to the Olympics to compete, he's under very high stress because it is that stress that makes him perform. If he didn't have that stress, he wouldn't be able to perform. Now, at the outset, I want to make two things. You see, stress can be good if we take it in a positive manner. How come? Under the same set of circumstances, some people break records while others break themselves. How come? Big question. How come under the same set of circumstances, some people break records while others break themselves? How come? Now, I'm going to make a statement which I might repeat again a couple of times. One is, let us not overrate the crisis and threat that we are facing. And two, let us not underrate our strength to fight and win. I repeat, this is important. Let us not overrate the crisis that we are facing, and let us not underrate our strength to fight and win. This is the scenario that we are talking about. Now, this crisis has impacted us three ways. One, our life. Two, our livelihood. Three, our lifestyle. Now, let's look at one at a time. How has it impacted our life? Folks, first of all, none of us know who will be in quarantine next. I repeat, nobody knows, none of us know who will be in quarantine next. And second part is, what we do, where we go, who we meet, could be a matter of life and death. Are you with me? Folks, where we go, who we meet, and what we do could be a matter of life and death. Therefore, a major impact has come on our life. Now, the second part is our livelihood. Now, livelihood today and livelihood tomorrow. Today, there are many people who are laid off. The incomes have stopped, not only as an individual, but also as an entrepreneur, as a business, as an organization. Their income have stopped, and not only their income, government income have stopped. Governments are going bankrupt, belly up. If there is no expenditure, no expenses, no taxes coming in, well, the government income is wiped out. Therefore, major issues have come in. Now, this has led people to think multiple ways. What is going to happen today and what will happen tomorrow? Now, let's talk about, there are three kinds of people whose livelihood has been impacted. One kind of people are those who are super rich. Two, mediocre. And three, poor. The super rich are maybe the big corporations, MNCs, and closely held organizations, maybe the Tatas, the Birlas, the Adanis, the Ambanis. And I would be totally surprised if they do not have enough cash liquid reserve. Now, some of them might be overextended, but I would be totally surprised if they did not have enough cash reserves. Now, these people at least don't have a cash flow problem. I would be surprised if they do. That is one part, super rich. Now, the second part is our mediocre level people. Mediocre means may possibly you. Now, we are thinking about livelihood. We have savings. Now we're thinking, how long will our savings last? How long will we be able to sustain? That's the big question. Now, when we had a pension and tax consulting practice in the US, we always used to tell our clients, you must keep 1 year of your income accessible within 1 week, 1 year of your income. Why 1 year of your income? 6 months of that 1 year income should be considered as emergency or accident fund. I repeat, 6 months of income should be emergency or accident fund, which you should be able to access within less than 24 hours. Why? Because emergencies and accidents do not inform you in advance. They don't inform you in advance. That is why they're called accidents. And another 6 months should be opportunity fund. Now, if people don't have it, it's a little too late. But going forward, they need to understand what proper planning is all about. Now, that is the livelihood part. It's not done as yet. But let me share whose livelihoods are at danger. I was sitting with a very senior banker about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, what percentage of staff is coming to your office to work? He said, we are part of essential services, hence we are operating with about close to 25 to 30%, 35% staff, 30% staff. I said, then if you're working with 30% manpower, has your efficiency also come down to 30%? He said, no. He said, we are working close to 80 to 90% of efficiency here. I said, how's that? He said, there are multiple number of people who were not tech savvy. They were doing physical banking all the time. And what we are doing is we are calling them and we are putting them on digital platform. And not only that, he said the senior citizens, they were not techies at all. They didn't understand technology. Therefore, more so with senior citizens, and they have a lot of money. We're calling senior citizens and putting them on digital platform. And therefore, when all these people come on digital platform, our efficiency is about 80, 90%, 90% efficiency with 30% manpower. So my next question was, does that mean all the 70% who are not coming today, they were redundant yesterday, or they will become redundant tomorrow? When they come back, the crisis is over, then you won't need them either. He said, we haven't thought about that, but that could be a real issue. But then he said something very interesting. He said, Mr. Khera, there are 4 kinds of people. In every organization, there are 4 kinds of people. One is the superstar. Superstar is the person who works without supervision. They are proactive. You can trust them. And they are honest people. They have integrity. And when they do their job, you do not have to verify and check if they're telling the truth or not. See, when they do their job, and if they say it is done, then mean it is done. You don't have to go check, verify, and see if the person is telling the truth or not. So you build a level of trust. They are your superstars. The second breed of people is your doers. Doers are those, you keep supervising them, you keep telling them they'll do the job. You keep supervising them, you keep telling them they'll do the job. And that's about it. And the third breed of people in any organization is the talkers. They talk and they want to get away by talking without doing the job. And they only do what they can get by with. They only do what they can get by with and no more. That's it. And the fourth breed of people are the troublemakers. In every organization, there are some troublemakers. He said, you know, we will have to very carefully look at possibly retaining the top two and possibly getting rid of the bottom two. The talkers and the troublemakers must be out. Now, think about it. My next question was, the work from home, is it successful? Is it working? Because you're paying salaries to these people. He said, Mr. Khera, again, the 80-20 rule applies. And the 80-20 rule applies is 20% of people who are working from home, they are responsible people. They do their job without supervision. They do the job without supervision. But he says 80% people, they still need supervision. I said, if you're paying salary, unless you tie their compensation to performance, how do you measure what they're doing? In fact, I heard the founder of Infosys, Narayan Murthy, and he said, we need to set measurable standards for productivity. If people are working at home, why at home? Even at work, you have to set measurable standards anyway. Now, there are people who are not mature. It takes a lot of self-discipline. And sadly, many people who don't have self-discipline, and most don't, they consider working from home as a paid vacation. You see, they don't understand. Working from home is not a paid vacation. So therefore, livelihood will become a big question. So one, super rich people. Second is the mediocre people. And now the mediocre people and possibly the poor, their major concern is that they go out to work and get money. They go out to work and get money. They go out and work and they get money. This is called active income. And the day they stop going out working, the income stops. So it has literally forced people to distinguish between active income and passive income. They said, we must generate passive income. See, I must go out and work, but my money should work for me too. And this is where the livelihood part, economics part is that people are distinguishing between discretionary spending and non-discretionary spending. You see, discretionary spending you can get rid of, but non-discretionary is your food and medicine. There's nothing you can do about it. We need it. Therefore, they're now looking at it that it is better to have money in the bank than have 30 shirts in the closet. It is better to have money in the bank than buy an expensive car. You see, people have started rethinking on livelihood issues. Now, let's talk of lifestyle, the third part. Lifestyle has changed very drastically, and possibly it will continue as we go along. Now, till the lockdown took place, everybody was on the fast lane. Interesting, we were all on the fast lane. Nobody had time. We just did not have time. And on the fast lane, we didn't stop and ask, where are we going? But we are going. Everybody's running. Where are they running? We don't know. They were all running. But this crisis, and look at this, the amount of time-saving devices we have today, we have never had that many in history, and yet we didn't have time. 4 weeks ago, we just didn't have time. You know why? Because somewhere we messed up our priorities. And I'm not preaching here, I'm guilty myself. Somewhere we messed up our priorities. And when we mess up our priorities, we forget to distinguish between what's urgent in life and what's important in life. Now, urgent may or may not be important, and important may or may not be urgent. But interesting thing is, whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. See, folks, health is important. It's not urgent. Exercising every day is important, but it's not urgent. See, if I have a crucial meeting tonight, I cannot exercise. It is not the end of the world. But if I ignore my health long enough, guess what happens? I'll land up in the hospital. See, we ignore what is important, it converts into urgent. See, in life, relationships are important, but they're not urgent. But if we ignore relationship long enough, guess what happens? We start talking to our lawyers. See, whenever we ignore what is important, it converts into urgent. Now, this is where this lockdown has literally slowed us down and said, wait a minute, get your priorities right. Get your priorities right, because now all we have is time. All we have is time, that's it. And people who are resetting their priorities, and they realized one thing, that earlier we had speed, but maybe we did not have the right direction. And if we have the wrong direction, then we will go too fast in the wrong direction. But people have started realizing that direction is more important than speed. I repeat, in life, direction is more important than speed. They have reevaluated, come back, set your priorities right. And this is what has done to our lifestyle, and which is, I'm going to talk about, is the stress level, what is happening to us emotionally. Okay, now, with this scenario at hand, all through history, we have only 2 instances in 100 years where we could possibly reflect to see, has any crisis been equal to this crisis? Only twice in the last 100 years. One was the Spanish flu in the year 1918, where 50 million people died. I repeat, 50 million people died. Folks, I'm not here to scare. I'm here to make aware. I repeat, I'm not here to scare. I'm here to make people aware. Now, interestingly, they died over a 2-year period. There was a first spike, and people thought it's all over and the crisis is over. No, no, no. They had a second phase. It came back and hit so hard. The more people died in the second phase. So the moment you drop your guard, it comes back and hits much harder. That's it. So that is one part. 50 million people died. And the second parallel is the Great Depression of 1929, 1930. At that point, there was total chaos. Panic in the Wall Street. Banks failed. Savings were wiped out. $1,000 became $150. And 15 million people got unemployed. 15 million. Now, 15 million then is equivalent to 50 million today. You know why? Population of US was only 120 million then. Today it's 330 million. And by the way, I just read the other day that over 30 million people have filed for unemployment in the last 4 weeks. 30 million. And it is expected that this will exceed 50 million, only in the US alone. Now, interestingly, this was the scenario of unemployment then and even today. Now, hear the next sentence, which is crucial. Folks, whenever unemployment has gone up, self-employment has also gone up. I repeat, whenever unemployment has gone up, self-employment has always gone up. Now, at that crisis, during that crisis, people were depressed. Money was lost. Everybody was wiped out. But there were some people who were solution-focused. Again, you want solution-focused people. There was a breed of entrepreneurs. They started small little ventures. And today, they have become household words in the United States. Let me share with you 3 examples. Now, these entrepreneurs were positive people, and they're called positive entrepreneurs, which is called survivalist. They were survivors. Now, they were not well educated. They had no money, and they had nothing to fall back on. They did not have the risk-taking ability. So they started very small, and they were not techies either, and nor were they innovative people. So here is how they started. One man was a man by the name of George Jenkins. He started a little outlet in his neighborhood area at an abandoned place, abandoned shop. And he started selling non-perishable, durable goods. Why non-perishable? Because if they perish, he would lose money. So he couldn't afford to take a risk. Non-perishable, durable goods. Why durable? Because he said, if I'm not able to sell, at least I can use them. He started a small little outlet at an abandoned place. And today, in the US, he has 1,000 outlets. His turnover is $30 billion. His net worth is $6 billion. And the store is called, he has 1,000 outlets in the US today. And that store is called Publix Supermarket. We all have heard that. Now, that's one. Second example, there were 2 brothers in California, and they were going through the same crisis. And they started crushing grapes and started making wine out of it. But nobody buy it. So they started selling wine at 50% below market. That's how they started. And today, they are worth close to $10 billion. And Gallo Winery is considered to be one of the largest winery in the United States, with capturing 25% of the market share. Interesting. And the third example is a man had a little patch of land in Idaho, and he started planting potatoes. Now, the crop that came, what he couldn't sell, he ate. And what he couldn't eat started rotting. So he could not afford the loss. What he could not eat started rotting. He could not afford the loss. So he created a mechanism to freeze them. And folks, the man's name is Simplot. And today, he accounts for 33% of the French fries business of the United States. He's called the Potato King, and he's worth $10 to $12 billion. Now, folks, I'm sharing the example does not mean that you and I all can do the same thing and we all can be billionaires, but I'm just making a point here. And that is that these were solution-focused people. They had no money to risk. But they were positive people, and they moved on. And that is what we need to overcome the crisis. Now, how does the crisis impact us? It does impact us 3 other ways. 1 is physically, 2 economically, and 3 psychologically. Physically, medically. I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to talk about it. But I would just address on the issue of hygiene. As far as medical information is concerned, WHO is probably sending across enough news items and and videos running around everywhere, and enough news coming out to what you do on the medical side. But here's what I'm sharing with you on the hygiene side. I remember during our childhood days, our parents said, wash hands. Now, wash hands when you come out of the bathroom, wash hands. You go to lunch, don't eat anything till you wash hands. And you touch anything, wash hands. Touch currency, wash hands. Touch people, wash hands. Always wash hands. Now, folks, somewhere probably we people have forgotten to give the same hygienic values to our kids, or maybe to people in our office also. There is one component of hygiene, but there is another side to washing hands component. And you say, keep washing hands. But you know, there are hundreds of millions of people who don't even have drinking water. They say, talking of washing hands, we don't even have drinking water. We drink the same contaminated stuff, and that's about it. Now, this is one side, but look at the flip side. The dichotomy is there are people who are potentially well-off people, and all well-off countries like the Western world. You know what they do when they wash hands? While they're rubbing their hands with a soap, they leave the tap running. I repeat, they are so inconsiderate, insensitive people. While they're washing, they're rubbing their hands with the soap, they leave the tap running. And do you know, every time you wash hands like this and you keep the tap running, you lose 5 liters of water with every hand wash. 5 liters of water. And if you wash your hands 20 times a day, only one person is wasting 100 liters of water. And if you have 5 people in your family, you're losing 500 liters per day, only one family. Look at this. Now that's one side of the picture. Now let us talk of the other side of the medical or the physical side. I heard a medical doctor the other day say to me on the TV, he said, you know, the corona crisis is occupying a lot of beds. That's true. And there are hospitals for it. But he said that in our other places and hospitals, the occupancy has gone down. How's that? He said, with no air pollution outside, respiratory problems have gone down. And no cars on the street. He said road accidents have gone down, so we don't get accident victims anymore. And 3, with hygiene and sanitary conditions improved, people are not getting infection. And he says, we are underoccupied on the other side. Now that's one side of the picture, which is a good problem to have. But that's the other side. Now, let's talk of the second part. One is physical, second, economical. Let me share with you crucial side of economics. Today, there is so much of dependence of one country to another that people have started feeling insecure, especially with this crisis coming in. And every country is thinking of self-sufficiency. You cannot depend on others like this, on other countries who can take you for ransom and blackmail you. Therefore, countries are talking of self-sufficiency. And 2, they're talking of, we have production right now 20-25 miles away from the consumer. Production is taking place 25,000 miles away. He said, no. We must get production near the consumption. Must get production near the consumer. Then the next thought was, why did we take the production this far to begin with? Well, only because of cost factor. And what was the cost factor? Labor cost primarily. Labor cost primarily. But now the new thinking that has come up is with the artificial intelligence, with the robotics. He says, we don't need manpower. We don't need that much manpower. So the labor costs have gone down drastically, that component. Cost that component of the labor part has gone down drastically. So we need to bring production near consumption. So people are rethinking a number of things on the economic side also. Now, let us come to the third aspect, which is psychologically. The psychological impact is, it is what we're talking of, the emotional side, our ability or inability to handle stress. Now, people who are emotionally strong, they're becoming stronger. And people who are emotionally weak, they are running into bigger problems. And I was just listening on the news that domestic violence has gone up by 50%. Imagine, domestic violence has gone up by 50%. They are irksome to one another. They are having bigger problems in their families. But people who are stronger emotionally, they're building very strong ties and they're coming out much stronger. And they say, well, I didn't have time. And you ask people, why do you go to work? I work for my family. Why do you work hard? I work hard for my family. Who are the most important people in your life? My family. Who are the most neglected? Also my family. Well, interesting. The most important people are the most neglected also. Many times it happens. Sadly, I'm guilty many times myself. But it has literally made people rethink. To get your emotional ties straightened out. Now, with that in mind, which I'll address as we go along, let me share with you some steps. If you want to take this down, please do so. Some steps. How do we cope with the crisis? How do we cope and handle the situation? Step one is the Serenity Prayer. Folks, about 45 years ago, I sat as a student in a program which was run by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the man who wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. And as he came in, he took one look at the whole audience and said, it appears you people are so relaxed, comfortable, and calm. It seems nobody has a problem. And then he asked, does anybody here have a problem? So everybody raised their hand. Of course, we all have problems. And then he asked, how many people would like to get rid of the problem? Again, everybody raised their hand. We'd like to get rid of them. And then he said, well, as I was coming here to this congregation, I came across a place where I saw some people all stretched out, relaxed, totally comfortable. They had no problem. How many people would like to know where that place is? So again, everybody raised their hand. So Dr. Peale said, 2 blocks away from here, there is a cemetery. There are people lying there, stretched out, totally relaxed. They have no problem. How many people would like to get rid of the problem? Nobody raised their hand. Everybody put their hand in the pocket. Then he said, problem is a sign of life. So long as we are alive, we shall have problems. The day we don't have problems, we'd be dead. And when we run short of problems, that's the time to get on your knees, pray to God and say, if you start trusting me anymore, send me some problems. But hear this. He said something very profound that day, which is not his. Probably somebody gave it 2,000 years ago to him. He gave a prayer called Serenity Prayer. He said, we cannot solve all our problems, but we can handle them. And that day he gave the Serenity Prayer, which to me is the crux of life. And since the past 45 years, I don't leave home without doing my prayers. And it has given me a lot of strength. And here is a prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference what I can and what I cannot. I repeat, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference what I can and what I cannot. If you analyze and dissect this prayer, to me, it is the crux of life. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now, the big question is everything in our control in life? Answer is no. Answer is no. Everything is not within our control. Some things are beyond us. I didn't decide where I was going to be born, neither did you. I didn't choose my parents, neither did you. If this is my height, there's nothing I can do. And if this is the color of my skin, there's nothing I can do about it. Now, granted, sometimes people are born deformed. What wrong did they do? And granted, sometimes bad things do happen to good people for no fault of their own. What wrong did they do? Who knows? Folks, as somebody said, well, in life, we cannot choose the cards that are dealt to us. What we can choose is how we play the game. Now, we cannot choose. Sometimes nature gives us a lemon. The choice is ours. Do we cry or do we make lemonade? Now the question is, how did this crisis come? Who created it? I mean, you could do all the analysis and keep shouting and come back and achieve nowhere. Folks, many times in life, we keep fighting the things that we just cannot change, and we bring stress into our lives. And in life, our productivity goes down. We become totally unproductive. But it says one more thing. If I can change, then give me the guts to do it. And wisdom to know what I can and what I cannot. Now, this same thought, when I wrote my book, You Can Win, and the other one, You Can Achieve More, I took this 2 steps further. And I wrote in there that life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. Seems like a contradiction, but not really. See, if I ill-treat you, I've chosen to be ill-treated, haven't I? If I treat you with discourtesy, I've chosen to be treated with discourtesy, haven't I? If I light up a cigarette, I've chosen to invite cancer, haven't I? If I drink and drive, I've chosen to invite an accident, haven't I? If I tell lies, I've chosen to lose credibility, haven't I? See, and if I practice unhygienic habits and insanitary conditions, I've chosen to invite the virus, haven't I? So life is full of choices. Now, very important sentence, folks. We are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. I repeat, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. Now, what is success? Series of positive choices in life is called success. And series of negative choices in life is called failure, and that's it. Many times, the press has interviewed me and they asked me, Mr. Khera, tell me, people who are successful, don't they make mistakes in life? And people who are not successful or people who are failures, don't they do positive things in life? And my answer is, my friend, people who are successful, they do make mistakes. That is true. But remember one thing, making a mistake once in a while does not make a person a failure. Repeating the same mistake again and again is what brings failure. And doing something positive once in a while does not bring success. It is repeating the same positive behavior again and again is what brings success. We need to understand what the real world is all about. And that's it. Okay, that's step 1. Now, step 2. If you want to overcome and cope with a crisis, the step 2 says is limit your exposure to news. Limit your exposure to news. Folks, have you seen there are many people who wake up in the morning and they turn the TV on. And what do they want to see? News. And folks, and what are they looking for, especially in today's crisis period? They're looking for scores. How many death where? How many death where? How many death where? They're looking for scores, as if there's a cricket match going on between Australia and England. And then, after they got the score from one channel, they move to the next channel. And they move to the next channel, and the next channel, and the next channel, and the next channel. And they see so many deaths taking place every channel, and they watch the same news 12 hours a day and 14 hours a day. All they've seen is depressing news. And at the end of 12 hours and 14 hours, they feel depressed themselves. And when they feel depressed, their own immunity goes down, and chances of catching the virus are much higher. Folks, if we want to watch news, do it only twice a day. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, and that's it. No more. It is so negative. Now, see, important thing is, one more thing, and that is that we must get our information from reliable sources. There's a lot of fake information running around. Get your information from reliable sources. And that is where your news should come from authentic source and limited. That's about it. That's step 2. Step 3, convert your TV time to productive time. Convert your TV time to productive time. How do you do it? A survey was conducted in the US which said an average American watches 3 to 4 hours of TV per day. By the way, this survey is not during crisis. This survey was pre-crisis. So when they were working, they came home and they put 3 to 4 hours per day on watching TV. Now, by the way, today people are watching 8-10 hours of TV per day. Look at this. In fact, do you know what the cost of watching a TV is? A man bought a new TV, and a friend of his came over to see him and saw a brand new TV. It was very impressive. So he asked his friend, how much did the TV cost? He said, about $1,000. Oh, he said, really? He said, yeah. He said, are you sure? He said, yeah. He said, tell me, what is your annual income? He said, $100,000. He said, well, $100,000. He said, have you ever checked what is your hourly rate? What does it translate to an hourly rate? He said, if I work 2,000 hours a year, it translates to 50 hours, $50 per hour. So I said, how many hours do you watch TV every day? 3 hours. 3 hours TV, $50 an hour, comes to $150 per day. And you watch TV 365 days a year, and that comes to close to 1,000 hours per year. Do you know that costs you $55,000 per year? $55,000. And that is more than the EMI on a $500,000 home. Your TV is not costing $1,000. You have never realized the cost of that TV. Now, don't get me wrong. We need to relax. There's some good programs. Sometimes we want to watch a good movie and something nice. It is great. It's a good thing to help you tie down. But important thing is, if that's all you're doing, then you're wasting time. Now convert that TV time into productive time. Now, my new book, which was launched in London last year, You Can Achieve More. I have mentioned in there that 85% of millionaires and billionaires today in the world are first generation. I repeat, 85% of millionaires and billionaires today are first generation. Only 15% coming from inheritance. And they were asked, in this short span of time, how did you reach such financial success? So huge. How did you manage? And the answer was, we read books. And how many books do you read? And this answer was, we read about 50 books a year, 50 books a year. 50 books means 1 book a week. Now look at this. multimillionaires and billionaires, running businesses, they still create time to read one book a week. And people who are unemployed, they have no time. And people who have to go nowhere, they have no time. Now, they were asked, what kind of books do you read? And the answer was, we read only self-help books. We don't read fiction. Why? Because fiction is fiction. Doesn't help me in real life. And it's a self-help book. One good idea is worth $1 million to me. One good idea is worth $1 million. So he said, I do get on continuous learning because there is a connection between learning, earning, and earning. Now, once in a while, I also noticed one thing, that people who are serious in going up in life, in self-development, to me, self-development is more important than skill development. But these people never lend their books, never borrow books. Once in a while, I've had people come to me and said, Mr. Khera, I got a great book. I can lend it to you. I said, don't. I said, either give it to me, gift it to me, sell it to me. But don't lend it to me because I won't give it back to you. Why? Because when I take a book, I always sit with a pencil and a marker on the side. I mark, underline, I make notes on the side. Why? Because I learned one thing. Reading a good book once is never good enough. Now, why is it not good enough? I repeat, reading a good book once is never good enough. Why? Because when you read the second time, you don't find anything new in the book. Nothing has come new in the book. But you know something? You find something new in yourself. Interesting. You find something new in yourself. Therefore, I learned one thing. I never lend or borrow books. And I used to read about 30, 40 books a year at one time. But in the last few years, my habit stopped. Though I keep watching a few hours of good motivational tapes and videos, recordings every day. And I still read books. But I was cleaning up my library. In my library, I have close to 250,000 books. Many libraries don't have that many books. And as I was cleaning up, I saw there were many books I read half. I pulled all of them and I said, let me complete this book. And the other night, I was reading a book and I kept reading till 6 o'clock in the morning. So I couldn't wake up till 2 o'clock. But that's fine. I didn't waste my time watching TV. So I need to understand there is a connection between learning and earning. Learning and earning. And a great example is of Singapore government. See, it's locked down in Singapore. We have an office there. And the government of Singapore has allocated some large few $1 billion in training funds for reskilling and upskilling people. Because they said that, look, earlier we were on the fast lane, we had no time. It was uptime and we had no time. This is downtime. This is time to upskill yourself. And when the downtime is over, you would have upskilled already. And when time changes, you'll get a jump start. There will no time wasted on the gestation period. There will not be any gestation period. You will have a jump start. They are far-sighted people, far-sighted government. And that's really what we are talking. I just want to say something now, and I will repeat at the end of the program, that if during the lockdown period, if we have not come out upskilled, if we have not come out upskilled, if we have not come out more knowledgeable after the lockdown, and if we have not come out healthier and fitter, it is not because we lack time, but because we lack self-discipline and commitment. I repeat, this is very crucial. If after the lockdown is over, a month and a half, if we have not come out better skilled, upskilled, or more knowledgeable, or healthier and fitter, it is not because we lack time, but because we lack the commitment and self-discipline. And that is crucial. Okay, step 4. Step 4, how do we overcome and cope with the crisis? Many people are feeling depressed. You know what they say? I am bored. I am bored. Got nothing to do. I learned one thing in my life. Only boring people are bored. I repeat, only boring people are bored. This is the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the pleasure of being alone. I like my company. I enjoy my company. I'm at peace with myself. But people who are lonely, they're bored. Even within groups, they're still bored. And they feel depressed. Now, what is the way to get out of depression? A world-famous psychiatrist was a man by the name of Dr. Carl Menninger. Menninger Clinic in the US is considered to be the last word in psychiatry. So a person asked Dr. Menninger, Doc, if you knew for sure a patient of yours was coming up with an attack of depression, what prescription would you give to him as a treatment? They thought he would write some medication. And he said, if I knew for sure that somebody was coming up with an attack of depression, I will tell them, go home, lock your home, and go to the other side of town. Find somebody who's in trouble, help them, and your depression will go away. He said, find somebody who's in trouble, help them, and your depression will go away. This is a world-famous psychiatrist saying treatment for depression. I've done a lot of fundraising for the Round Table, the Rotaries, and some of the Lions. And I find these people are so busy organizing blood donation camps, eye camps, blood donation camps, eye camps. They don't have time to get depressed. Maybe they're exceptions, but they don't have time to get depressed. I see by and large, they're all positive people. So this is one way of getting out of depression, and that's it. Okay, step 5. Step 5. This is time to build positive relationships. Now, folks, earlier we didn't have time. And we kept saying, who are the most important people in my family? But I don't have time for them. But today, you have all the time for them. This is the time to strengthen your relationship. People who are emotionally secure, who had good relationships, their relationship is becoming even stronger. And people who did not have good relationships, this is time to mend. And if you don't, it'll end up breaking. But important thing is, who are the most important people in this world? It is family. Tomorrow, God forbid, if you got a problem, if you're in the hospital, who will come up? Who will leave all the work? It is your family who will be by your side, nobody else. And many times we take them for granted. Look, I've learned one thing in my life, that people who have good relationships, what they can achieve and accomplish with one phone call, you cannot achieve with $1 million. I repeat, people who have good relationships, what they can get done with one phone call, people with $1 million cannot get done. Now, don't get me wrong. Many times you do need $1 million anyway, which I'll address that a little later, but I'll come to that. But interestingly, not only brings strong bondages at home, but even at work. I'll share. I got a call the other day from a gentleman I hadn't met for 10 years. And all of a sudden when he called, I had great respect for him, but somewhere I had lost touch. And he called me and he said, Mr. Khera, I was just going through my records and somewhere it is my fault. He said, I lost contact with you. I apologize. I just wanted to reestablish. I had no business with you, nothing else. Haven't done any business, but there's some good people who I respect. I want to reconnect. And that's the reason of my call. You know something, when he called and said that, I felt so guilty. I wish I had done that same to him. And that's the time it gave me realization, buddy, he's doing it. What are you doing? Why shouldn't I do it? I started looking at all my records and look at all my contacts. And there are some very good people who I had disconnected for a long time. I just started pulling out those contacts and started calling them for no business. And you know something? Good contacts, this is not called networking. You see, there are people who don't understand the meaning of networking. And to them, networking only means, let me see when I meet somebody, what can I get out of this person? They're crooks, they're rascals, and they're cheats. They're only looking to get and nothing to give. They're only takers, not givers. You see, and they look at your usefulness. So long as useful, they will be and maintain contact with you. The day your usefulness goes, they'll drop you. That is not called networking. That is only called greed and selfishness. That's all, and self-centered behavior. They never go too far in life. People are not stupid. They understand it. They're not givers. They don't want to give anything in life. Now, interestingly, not only in the family or friends, but even business relationships. One gentleman called me up and said, Mr. Khera, tell me, after the crisis is over, how do we take a jump start and get a head start on our competition or do much better and eliminate a gestation period? I said, look, do one thing. Go back, check your records. Look at all the people that you've done business in the past 6 years. And watch, out of those people you've done business 6 years, how many of you, those people, you have not done any business in the last 1 year? Now that means they trusted you 6 years ago, but somewhere you got dropped. They're not doing business with you anymore. Now pick up the phone and call those people who you had done business 6 years ago and 5 years ago and say, buddy, I'm not here calling for business at all. But I do notice that we did some business 6 years ago. And after that, we haven't done any business. Maybe I have gone wrong somewhere in life. I would be grateful if you could just help me out. Just tell me, where did I go wrong? And you'll be doing me a great service, sir. It'll be a great favor from your side. Now, you know something, when you make a call like this, he has a time to listen to you. He has a time to talk to you. But when the crisis is not there, if you called him, he doesn't have the time to talk to you. He's dropped you anyway. There are so many things one can do to establish good connection, and that is the important. This is time to build strong relationships. Okay, next one. If you want to cope with this situation, then become a proactive person. Become a proactive person. What does that mean? You see, when we do our 3 or 4 day leadership programs, many times we ask people, are you a good person? All of a sudden they get confused. Well, I'm not sure. Or if others think I'm good, I'm good. If they don't, I don't. But then there are some people who say, well, I'm good. Then you ask a follow-up question, ask, what makes you good? And they say, well, I don't do bad. I don't cheat, I don't steal, I don't tell lies, so I'm good. Now, if that is the answer they give, we said that is not the correct answer, at least not in my opinion. See, folks, just because you don't tell lies, it only means you're not a liar, but that does not make a person good. And if I don't steal, it only means I'm not a thief, but that does not make a person good. And if I don't cheat, it only means I'm not a cheat, but that does not make a person good. Go check out, folks. Absence of ill health does not mean good health. I repeat, absence of ill health does not mean good health. Ask a medical doctor, he'll tell you that. And just because I'm not doing bad does not make me good either. Folks, a person becomes good when they do good. That is called being proactive, which means as a good human being, we need to know what we stand for. I repeat, we need to know what we stand for. Now, standing for something is not good enough. But then we also need to know what we stand against. A good human being is not neutral on values. They stand for and they stand against. Let me share with you what it means. Why I bring this point up. It is crucial. personally, I have no compassion for the enemies of humanity. I repeat, I have no compassion for the enemies of humanity. And we've seen enough during this crisis and earlier. Now, who do I label them as enemies of humanity? I've seen videos from New York City. I've seen from many other places in Europe. I've seen videos in India. There are people who are throwing stones and killing and hitting the doctors. They're hitting the nurses. They're beating them up. The security forces, the police guys, they're beating them. They're spitting on them. They are spitting on them. And there are people who are lacing with their spits on vegetables, on fruits, on pizzas. You know why? Only perverts. That I want to give this disease to somebody else. This is perversion. They're called enemies of humanity. I have no compassion for them. Now, let me share our history, mythology that comes in, and probably more Indians might be able to relate to this. And Sunny, if I could see your face, and it'll be nicer if you come on the screen. But here, let me share the enemies of humanity that I'm talking of. I was doing a program, there were 5,000 people. Huge auditorium. As I finished, one person from the group came up and asked me a very pointed question. And he asked me, Mr. Khera, are you a Gandhian? Are you a Gandhian? Now, I've learned one thing in my life. Don't answer a question till you clarify, get the criteria, and two, many times the answer to a question is a question. Okay, now hear this. So I asked him, I said, sir, can you tell me what are the criteria of being a Gandhian? I mean, what are the principles of being a Gandhian? Please let me know. Then we will figure out if we are Gandhian or not. He says, well, Gandhi believed on 3 principles in life all through. 1, he said, we love you. With love, you can win everybody in this world. That's 1. 2, Gandhi believed in tolerance. And 3, Gandhi believed in non-violence. 3 things, Gandhi's principles. So again, he asked me, are you a Gandhian? I don't know what came to my mind at that time. I said, have you read our Indian scriptures, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Ramayans? So I asked him, tell me, was Ram a Gandhian by any standard? Was Ram a Gandhian? Now let us look at the 3 criteria that you said. You see, for those who are not familiar with Indian scriptures, you see, Ram is considered as a god to us. And of course, his wife was kidnapped by an evil person. And so he said, and he had to fight and kill and get his wife back because she was kidnapped. Now I said 3 criteria. 1 is, was Ram able to win with love? Answer is, it didn't work for him. 2, did Ram say, I'm a very tolerant person? You kidnapped my wife away, it's okay. I'll get another one, you'll kidnap that one, I'll get another one, you'll kidnap that one, I'll get another one. Did he say that? He said, no, I don't tolerate kidnappers. He said, I don't tolerate kidnappers. And 3, Gandhi's 3rd principle was non-violence. Now, what did Ram have to do? He had to pull out a weapon and eventually killed Ravan. He had no choice. Now, even for self-defense, if he pulled out the weapon, then you don't call it non-violence. It is still violence, but even for self-defense, it is there. You have to. And if you look at Sikh history, the 10th guru, the Mughals were oppressing and forced conversion. And Was the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Sahib, was he able to win with love? Answer, he could not win with love. 2, did he say, I'm very tolerant of your oppression? He said, no, I can't tolerate your oppression. And 3, he had to pull the weapon. So that means Ram was not a Gandhian. Guru Gobind Singh Sahib was not a Gandhian. And I said, in my opinion, I hold them at much higher esteem. And hear this carefully, I am not a Gandhian. I am not a Gandhian. And anybody who does not have the guts and integrity to protect the respect and dignity of innocent people and their families, that is called cowardice. That is not called tolerance. We need to understand what I'm sharing. Being proactive means we need to understand what we stand for and what we will stand against. I repeat, we need to understand what we will stand for and what we will stand against. Okay, now, with that in mind, number 7, next step. The next step is, in order to cope with crisis anywhere in life, we need to build high self-esteem. And high self-esteem is the reflection in our emotional strength. Emotional strength. Now, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the way we feel about ourselves. That's called self-esteem. And one day when we get up in the morning feeling good, the world looks nice, productivity goes up, and relationships are a lot better, aren't they? And the reverse is just true. And self-esteem is inversely related to egos. Have you seen people with egos like a know-it-all? What do? They talk down to people, don't they? They put down others, don't they? And every decision they make is more to satisfy ego than makes sense. Now think about it. Why does a human being put down another human being? It is sadistic but true. There are some people in this world who feel good when the other person feels bad. Means they don't want to lift themselves up, but they want to pull others down. This is the real world. Now, this is the one where people have low self-esteem and the stress levels are much higher. Now, let me share with you what is the driving force behind self-esteem. The driver is self-acceptance. Now, let me qualify the word self-acceptance. Self-acceptance says, how I came to this world, I have no idea. But I'm here, and I'm here to stay. And I'm not perfect. I am not perfect. And I accept myself the way I am with my pluses and minuses. Now, this is not called arrogance. It is not saying, that's the way I am, that's the way I will be. It is not saying, take it or leave it. That is called arrogance. But self-esteem, high self-esteem, is the epitome of humility. Only it says, I accept myself with my pluses and minuses, and I am at peace with myself. Now, let me share with you what it means. It means I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. I make mistakes. I apologize for my mistakes. I seek forgiveness for my mistakes. I'm not proud of my mistakes. I learned from my mistakes. I will not repeat my mistakes, but I am not a mistake. But I am not a mistake. I understand my identity. I accept myself the way I am. It doesn't mean complacence. I'm not here to improve. I seek forgiveness for my mistakes. I will not repeat them. I will learn from them. But I am not a mistake. I accept myself the way I am. I have to prove you nothing. I have to prove you nothing. And low self-esteem is driven by inadequacy. See, those are people who put you down. They feel good when you feel bad. That's it. They have to prove something. These guys don't have to prove anything. And the greatest example that I have known in history was Charlie Chaplin. And I put in my book an incident that I got from his memoir. He was traveling once in Europe and he saw a big hoarding, a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. Out of sheer inquisitiveness, He said, let me participate in the Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. He went in, and guess what? He came number 7. He started thinking, the real one loses, the fake one wins. But then he started thinking, should I tell them who the real one is? And he said, I'm the only one who knows who the real one is anyway. But then he started thinking, why should I tell them? Why should I tell them? Do I have to prove anything to anybody here that I'm a real one and you are not? He said, I know my identity. I know my identity. I am the real one anyway. And he just walked away from that. I'm at peace with myself. I accept myself the way I am. That's what we're talking. This brings emotional strength and stability, which is what we are talking is our ability to have good relationships and overcoming stress. Okay, next step is folks, very important. Stay away from blind faith. Faith is good. Faith is good. But stay away from blind faith leading to superstition. I repeat, stay away from blind faith leading to superstition, because superstition weakens people. Now, again, probably it'll be a little more India specific to that, but it is universal anywhere. Many times I notice that TV channels open up and there are all kinds of evangelists there and talking of horoscope. And that's it. And if you look at life histories of some of the leaders who are respected all over the world, originated from India, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Dayanand, Guru Nanak, they never believed in horoscopes and superstition. In fact, they fought against it. They fought against it. In fact, if you look at them, in Sikh families, they don't tally any horoscopes. There are no mangliks, and all weddings take place on a Sunday. Sunday doesn't sit right, they do it on a Saturday. Saturday doesn't sit right, they do it on a Friday. This is going back. Now, I share with you, there was an article that came out in India Today about a year ago, and I highly recommend that people should read it. It said that in Asia, mostly India, many childbirths are taking place totally through cesarean C-section operation. And they said more so in South India, which is Bangalore, Hyderabad, Madras, they mentioned the cities. And hear this, they said 80%, Sunny, 80% of childbirths are taking place because of C-section operation. 80%. You know why? Some astrologers told them this is the time to pull out the child. How interesting. You know something? When things go wrong in life, people who are fatalistic, they don't accept responsibility. They don't analyze what things went wrong. They blame the stars. And when they blame the stars, they don't analyze and accept responsibility and learn from that situation. And they keep repeating the same mistake again and again and again. And then you say, I'm unlucky and this guy's lucky. Folks, are you with me? This is the real world. See, faith is good. Blind faith is not good. It weakens people. And lastly, I want to share with you, to overcome this crisis, this is time to give back in life. This is time to give back. And I've noticed, I've seen on the TV all over the world, there are many good people. They're doing a lot of good in their own areas. People are doing as individuals here and there. They're helping people, that's true. But you know, I have one of the highest regard as a community, to the Sikh community. Even when there was no crisis, they were probably feeding 250,000 people a day out of the concept of langar. And today they're feeding anywhere close to 500,000 to 1 million people per day. per day. And by the way, it is not only in India, New Zealand, Australia, United States, Canada, everywhere. In the UK. You know something? Because it is embedded in them, in a good Sikh, the idea of caring. They're caring people. Two, they're sharing people. They share. And third, they're daring people. They have the guts to stand up against oppression. Three things. They're caring people, they're daring people, and they're sharing people, and they are daring people. And that's the key. As a community. Now, let me share an incident that took place in France. A very wealthy man by the name of Lafayette. He had lots of food grains, warehouses full, multi-billionaire. Drought came in France. People were starving. And his advisors came up to him and said, Mr. Lafayette, this is the time to multiply your money. These people are starving. They'll give you any amount of money for food right now. You can multiply 100 times at this time. You know what his answer was? He said, no. Good times I made money. They made money, I made money. They made money, I made money. Good time. They were laughing, I was laughing. They were laughing, I was laughing. He says, this is not good time. Only perverts would try to take undue advantage of them. He said, this is the time to open your warehouse and just give it for free. This is the time to give back. I know where I'm staying here, there's a Gurdwara, they are feeding people daily, a few thousand people. And whatever we contribute, we also make a contribution to that Gurdwara here. Now, in closing, I want to mention something here. And that is that I was doing a program for some people where there were some very high net worth people. Sonny, hear this. There were some very high net worth people. Very high net worth, in my opinion, are people who are in few 100 million or billion. That's very high net worth people to me. And one man from the group got up and he asked me, Mr. Khera, tell me, when a person has hundreds of millions and billions, they don't need money anymore. Why do they keep working and making more money? Why do they keep working and making more money? But really, they don't need it. And my answer was, my friend, there are two kinds of people in this world. One kind of people are those who are suffering from inferiority complex. They keep a score. They keep a score. They live by comparisons and they check their own self-worth by their net worth. And they keep up with the Joneses. How come they have this, I don't have it? How come they have this, I don't have it? How come they have this, I don't have it? And oh, they have 50 million, I must make 100 million. They have 100 million, I make 200 million. They have 200, I must make 300 million. And if they have 300, I must make 400 million. You know something? They measure self-worth by the net worth. I repeat, they measure their self-worth by the net worth. They don't understand. People make things, things don't make people. And if you take things away from them, they'll die out of shame. You know something, somebody said beautifully, I think it was Warren Buffett. He said, there are donkeys who make billions too sometimes. Now, if you carry golden bricks on a donkey, the donkey does not become a golden donkey. If you carry scriptures on a donkey, it does not become a spiritual donkey. So this donkey made $1 billion, okay, so what? And he just keeps a score and he keeps multiplying because he's suffering from inferiority complex. And then he sits on his treasures like a snake and gives nothing to society. I would not even want to have these people come into my home. It's not worth it. But there's a second breed of people who have hundreds of millions and billions, and they carry on to make more money. You know why? they feel I can serve my society much better. I can help people. Warren Buffett, I don't know the exact number, but I believe he had $38 billion. Probably he's given $37 billion to charity. Bill Gates, out of $33 billion, he's given $32 billion to charity. Azim Premji in India, he's given almost $8 or $7 billion to charity. I learned one thing in my life, that money is important. Anybody who says money is not important, either they're stupid or they're billionaires. Money is important. And I learned one thing, money in good hands will always do good. But money in evil hands will always do evil. I repeat, money in good hands will always do good, and money in evil hands will always do evil. So therefore, in closing, all I can say is that it is the moral obligation of every good human being to be a multi-millionaire and a billionaire, because they will do good to society. And I repeat one time, if out of this lockdown crisis, if we don't come out upskilled or more knowledgeable or fitter and healthier, it is not because we lack time. We lack commitment and we lack self-discipline. And with those words, I want to thank all of you people right there, Sunny and Todd and your entire Sunny's team here and the viewers out there. I wish everybody good health to your families, and listen, stay home. It is important. Don't be that rash person and go into risk. It does not make any sense. That is not courage. That is foolishness. So stay home. Be careful. Your families are waiting for you. You are precious. You are precious. Keep that in mind. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Khera. What a great presentation that was. Really enjoyed it. You know, one of the key learnings I took away is I got to read more. As you said, learning is earning. And that actually is a great segue to one of the questions that came in. And the question comes from Christina. And Christina asks, outside of your own, what is one book you recommend reading?
Well, I could recommend quite a few, in fact. I mean, of course, we had launched the books that we had, You Can Win and You Can Achieve More. But I would highly, highly recommend a few books. And if you want to jot them down, most welcome to do that. One is a book, Psycho-Cybernetics, by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Excellent book. Psycho-Cybernetics, one. Number two, another book I would highly recommend would be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the third book that I would recommend, highly recommend, is another book, which is I'm Okay, You're Okay by Thomas Harris, Dr. Thomas Harris. That's another great one. And similarly, if you look at it, there are some very good books out there. Another one is Anatomy of an Illness by Viktor Frankl. And he was a victim during the Second World War in the concentration camp, how he came out. And he saw people dying in front of him, and family members died. How did he come out? That was a big question. Amazing book, Viktor Frankl, Anatomy. Oh, sorry. The title of the book is not Anatomy of an Illness. The title is Man's Search of Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning. That's the title of the book. But there's another good one, Anatomy of an Illness by Dr. Norman Cousin. But there are a few others. I'd be happy to make a list and send it across to you, and you can pass it on to people. And of course, I would highly recommend my books that we have, You Can Win and You Can Achieve More. But I mean, this is not time for commercials, but I'll be happy to share with them.
All right, thank you. Another really great question came in is, besides your daily prayers, what is one thing you do on a daily basis that really improves your well-being?
I watch at least 2 hours, or I listen to 2 hours of good motivational stuff. And I've started reading about 2 to 3 hours a day, per day, 2 to 3 hours per day. And it is phenomenal. And now I don't even feel like turning the TV anymore, because you see, it is just wasted time. You need to ask, when we do whatever we do, I repeat, when we do whatever we do, ask yourself, is this the best utilization of my time? Is this the best use of my time? And if the answer is no, then get out. That's all. Get out is the word. Now, you know something? Many times we all, and that includes me too, many times we get in a cycle of a bad habit. Bad habits come like threads. Eventually they become chains hard to break. It is easier not to get into a bad habit than get into it and then break it. Now, let me share with you. We are all creatures of habits. Because 90% of what we do is habitual. And if you have good habits, if we have positive habits, we are a good person. And if we have bad habits, we are a negative person. You see, 90% of behavior is our habits. And good habits are hard to come by, but they're easy to live with. Bad habits come easy, but they're hard to live with. And before we got the habits got us. Now, one study says that to make or break a habit, make a good one or break a bad one, it takes 21 days of consistent effort to do it. Now tell me, is it too much of a price to pay to change a lifetime for the better? Answer is no, but very few people do it. See, sad part is, most people want to succeed, but very few people are willing to pay the price to prepare to succeed. See, the legend in martial art was Bruce Lee. Now, most people don't know that Bruce Lee's one leg was shorter than the other by 1 inch. Look at this, 1 inch. You have 1, 2, 3 mm, you get disaligned. His one leg was shorter than the other by 1 inch, and his eyesight was -10. And he used to practice 5,000 punches per day. And you know something? These are people who have overcome setback. He had a problem. So we need to redefine the word success. Success is not absence of problem, it is overcoming problem. Michael Phelps, 2 years before the Olympics, he had a fractured hand. You look at Steve Jobs. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. So we need to start understanding where we are, where we're heading. And 21 days, go back, look at your goals, make your list. And I mean, this is too short a time. As I said, we do 4-day, 3-day programs on leadership. I mean, we can only cover so much in this time.
Excellent. All right, got a great question from my buddy Amit. Amit's one of our leaders here, and he's asking, what do you prefer more, online reading / ebooks, or reading directly from books today?
I prefer anytime hard copy book. I tried becoming that techie, which I couldn't. And by the way, I'm not a techie. I was learning SMS a few months ago. This is my 9th or 10th webinar, which I only started about a month ago, 4 weeks ago. And every day we are booked for the next 3 weeks further. Every day I'm booked for some program. In fact, on the 10th, Sunny, I don't know if you're aware, the Indian High Commissioner is hosting a webinar for US completely. He's hosting it on the 10th. Now, what I'm sharing with you is I didn't understand technology at all, but I prefer to read a book which is hardcover. I make my notes. I tried Kindle. I couldn't understand. I couldn't do it. And it is not the same look and feel. So personally, I make notes, and I don't know how to make notes on the other side, but anyway, this makes more sense to me. That's me. But
absolutely. All right, excellent. And one more question, if we could. This one comes from Dupinder. She asks, I'm sorry, this one comes from another person. It says, how can we get their kids more active to listen and watch motivational videos and listen to motivational type books versus, the fiction and the cartoons and such? How do you encourage children to take those healthy habits that you talk about?
I have a program coming up with positive parenting. The problem that parents are saying, how do we make your kids do it? Problem is not with the kids, problem is with the parents. Hello? Are you with me? Problem is not with the kids. The problem is with the parents today. And where are the kids learning from? From the parents. So the problem is with the parents. And many times I hear people saying, talk to my kids. There's discipline missing, values missing. And my answer is, no, kids are not messed up. Parents are messed up. They need to understand and learn. Need to see where is it coming from, where are they learning. And that's the crucial part. In fact, next year, I am planning a program to come up with a program as positive parenting. And that's something important.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, here at IT by Design, we have a mantra of sharing is caring. So everybody who attended today's webinar will receive an email with a couple of great links in it. One of the links will take you to a PowerPoint deck entitled Mindset Ideas. And the other one is a link to the 11 Cardinal Rules for Business Success by Mr. Shiv Khera. So we hope you'll take a moment to download those. I'd also like to take a quick moment to invite all of our ITBD customers and partners to register for our next webinar, which is next week with Mr. Jack Daly, where he'll be talking about how to build a world-class organization. The registration link will be emailed to you. And with that, Sunny, why don't you close us out today?
Thank you, Todd. Can you stop sharing, please?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Khera. It was amazing. And thank you, everyone, my friends, my peers, my partners, the SACC community, our internal ITBD community. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you got something out of this that you're going to apply in your life. I met Mr. Khera a couple of years ago in Dubrovnik, Croatia, and I just took one thing that changed my life. That was his wonderful, wonderful quote that he shared with me during that business event. That was, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. And today, I'm so blessed and lucky that I got a couple of things that I'm taking back, and I'm just going to share these with my wonderful peers and partners and colleagues. One was when he said, under same circumstances, some people break records and some people, they break themselves. That was a great one. And then active income, passive income, very important for us to understand. Then it was about priorities, that now when we reflect on time, and do we want to choose speed or we want to choose direction? That was a great one. And power of positive thinking, convert TV time to productive time, and connections between learning and earning, time to build positive relationships. And this is the time, what we need to reflect on: self-acceptance, caring, sharing, daring, great mantra. And this is the time to give back. It's the time to learn and give back. And self-worth with net worth and making money to serve humanity. Those are my takeaways, and I'm going to reflect on these, and we will share in the post-webinar email as well. Thank you once again so much for joining. Thank you, Todd, Arid, my entire team that made it happen. Jen, Cam, and Shiv Khera, thank you so much for giving us your time and wisdom. Thank you so much.